What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric, and today on the channel we're going to be checking out a guitar that is very different from the guitars that I usually check out and fix and restore. And this guitar is kind of reflective of where I was as a young kid getting into music, and like way before like actually playing guitar and getting into my heroes, you know, like Dimebag, Alexi, Zach Wild, all those players, and a lot of other great players as well. This is a guitar that really kick-started the whole music journey. So with all that being said, we're going to be checking out and setting up this guitar here. This is a Tom DeLonge signature guitar here, but the very interesting thing is that it's the Squier Tom DeLonge guitar here, and this guitar has, you know, a couple upgrades from the original Tom DeLonge guitar, and we're going to get to all that and the specs and the features later on this guitar. And obviously this guitar has now been reissued under the Fender brand. I've played a lot of different examples on those guitars, and somehow I settled on the Squier guitar. And that's going to be for a little bit later, but what we're going to do is throw this guitar on the bench, put some new strings on it, hydrate the board, really set it up and give it a little bit of TLC, and just see how this guitar fares up for being 20 plus years old. Here we go. Alright, now here is the Squier Tom DeLonge guitar on the bench, and once again, this is a 20 plus year old guitar, and it's in pretty awesome shape, to be totally honest. It might be hard to capture this on camera, but there's a little bit of relief in the neck here, and honestly, just as the guitar is right now, it feels really good. There's no high frets or anything like that. Fret edges also feel pretty good for a Chinese and Indonesian made guitar from the 2000s. Not a lot to write home in terms of negativity on this guitar. We're just going to do a general setup on this guitar, but I do want to highlight that even though this guitar says Squier on the headstock and doesn't say Fender, and this guitar is probably made in China or Indonesia, like, the guitar honestly feels pretty good, and you can get these guitars for pretty cheap, but even though they are creeping up in price on Reverb, like, if you find a really good example like this one, like, and if you do really like Blink and all those pop punk bands from the day, like, you know, this is a pretty solid guitar. The only thing I think I'm going to do is probably raise the action, so I'll show that in a little bit more detail, but otherwise, let's change the strings on it, clean this up, and let's get to riffing on this thing. Here we go. Here is the Squier Tom DeLonge signature guitar all done up here, and for being around 20 years or just over 20 years old, this guitar is in pretty great shape and honestly did not need a lot of adjustments. And as I've said in other videos, it doesn't take a lot of work just to get your guitar looking this good, and it's not really that expensive to get the tools you need to get your guitar dialed in. And if you want to get the same tools that I use when I fix these guitars, I'm going to have a link down below where you can get some of those tools and some of the other things that I feature on the channel as well. So now let's get to some specs and features on the Squier Tom DeLonge signature Stratocaster here. We got an alder body, which is then finished in this beautiful like sonic blue or like a seafoam green here. Again, for being a 20-year-old guitar, the paint has held up very well on this guitar. No sort of fading or anything. So yeah, looks really good here. Football style output jack right here, very standard on other Stratocaster style guitars. The volume here has been modded. This is a push-push, so then you can actually split the coil of this Duncan design Invader. This was a much more affordable option at the time by comparison to the regular Seymour Duncan Invader. I'm not sure how well this compares to the actual Seymour Duncan Invader, but I'm pretty sure it is close. It might be wound a little bit differently, but at the end of the day, it sounds pretty awesome. It's really thick and chunky, but it sounds really good when you split the coil, and I will demo that later on for you. We got a hardtail bridge down here, and if you do have a keen eye, the saddles have been replaced from the original saddles that came on this guitar, and we have some stainless steel saddles here. Again, a very great upgrade here that the previous owner did on this guitar here. I would recommend this as well, especially if you are planning on using this guitar live or any guitar, just so you are not rusting out those bridge saddles there and you can work for many years later on. Moving up to the pickguard here, this has been replaced from factory as well. The original white factory pickguard has been sun-aged like crazy. So then this has been swapped out to like this white pearloid, like tortoiseshell pickguard here. Looks really good, looks really nice, and yeah, I think this looks a little bit more appropriate than, you know, just how rough the original pickguard looks on that guitar. Flip it around here, we got the regular Fender neck joint here for a bolt with a plate. On the back here, it says Tom DeLonge right up here, just to indicate that it is his signature guitar. We have a maple neck here, no skunk stripe or anything like that. We got a rosewood fingerboard, 25.5-inch scale, just like pretty well all Fender guitars for the most part, or at least the Stratocasters. 21 nickel frets. I believe they are medium sized. And moving up to the headstock here, we got like a bigger 70s style headstock, and that is kind of like my favorite Fender headstock. We then have these upgraded tuner buttons up here. These are just like these clear plastic ones. They look really nice. They don't affect the sound or anything, but honestly, once again, like for a 20-year-old guitar, this feels pretty awesome. And honestly, the guitar has just become like a couch guitar where I just pick it up and play it and just write some riffs on it and then put it down. And it's honestly just really fun to play this guitar because, I mean, look at it. It's fun. And with all that being said, let's just plug it in and hear how this thing sounds. So now at the end of the day, I'm very happy with my purchase of this Squier guitar. And for a 20-year-old guitar, again, it's a very good guitar, and especially by comparison to some of the newer made in Mexico Tom DeLonge Stratocasters. Now off camera, I've worked on and played a lot of the actual brand new made in Mexico Fender Tom DeLonge guitars. And by comparison, this is the way better guitar. And I'm being 100% honest with that, and that is removing any sort of bias that I have with these guitars here, and especially with this particular one. All of the brand new Tom DeLonge guitars that I've either played or fixed have had some pretty bad issues from the factory, and I just don't know how they got out with them. All had nut issues where some of the nut slots are cut way too low and they're fretting out as soon as you play an open string or the first string, fret sprouting issues, tall fret issues, and they have very sharp frets as well. Even my other friend Hunter, you might know him by by his YouTube handle as Agufish. He had one, and that guitar had a plethora of issues. I'm pretty sure the neck was installed incorrectly, and there might have been some actual issues with the bridge itself. And it's just very unfortunate that these issues are coming up on these guitars because they are not cheap guitars. I mean, this guitar is cheap because it was used, but these brand new guitars should not be coming from the factory with the amount of issues and the kinds of issues that they are having. So keep that in mind. If you do really want the Fender guitar, you just gotta play a bunch of them and see which one is gonna be the real winner. But in my opinion, if you do have the option, I think this one might be a clear winner unless I have a really good example of these. Let me know in the comments below if you have had a lot of issues with these guitars. But if you can get this guitar for a really good price at the end of the day and you're ready to change out some saddles, change the pickup, and maybe change the tuner buttons or something like that and make it a little bit more fun, you're gonna have a sweet platform at the end of the day because this guitar is a sick guitar and it's really well built. And regardless of what brand is on the headstock, if a guitar is gonna get you inspired or if a guitar is gonna want to keep you playing, that is what is most important at the end of the day. And especially if that guitar is going to create some memorable riffs that will maybe inspire the next generation of players coming up. And that's gonna do it for today's video. Let me know all thoughts and opinions down below on the Tom DeLonge series Fender or Squier guitars here. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and especially if you learned something new as well. If this is your first time checking out one of my videos, please consider subscribing. I have tons more videos like this doing guitar setups and repairs and other guitar related content on the channel. And if you really like what I do, make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that I upload. All the applicable links are down below to get the tools that I use as well. Thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you next time.